Getting straight into the conversation, I will start, Peter, with you and your journey in entrepreneurship. Set the context for us. What has the experience been like, and what would you like these young minds to know?
So I need to mention, I'm an old student here. Way many years ago, that's 98, 99, I was in a school of accountancy. So I'm a trader accountant, and I joined the University of Nairobi. I'm an economist. I graduated in 2002. So by the standards of Kenyans, I'd say then I had what it called for anyone to rush to the blue chip companies. However, that was not my calling. I didn't get any purpose every single morning when I woke up calling myself an accountant or an economist. So my real purpose was into this 6-letter beverage, the coffee that I took a bet on. And when I told my friends and my families what I was intending to do, that I wanted to start a coffee company, majority of them, they told me that, using their words actually, that I'm nuts, because I'm indulging in an industry that is dominated by multinationals, and very deep-pocketed multinationals for that matter. But I had this thing in me that I was thinking global. I decided if I have to start something, I have to start not within the limitation of Kenyan market itself, but a product that can sell across the world. So wherever I'm going, if I'm going to Australia right now, I'm still marketing Rock Band, and I'm very happy about that. So I would say it's not been easy, but it's doable. And I thank God I'm here where I am today. It's been like a religious experience for me.
It's been religious. That's how hard it's been.
It's been like a religious experience for me, and I've got to know what I looked into. The joy every single morning waking up, the satisfaction, and yeah, seeing you guys indulging in Rock Band coffee and talking about it is a good thing. I'll probably need to mention, one day I was in a flight going to London, and some people sitting next to me, they were talking about how they bought a remarkable brand in Kenya. And that brand was Rock Band, and that was the what I call the eureka moment for me.
Wow,
so,
amazing.
Yeah, it's doable, guys. Yeah.
It's doable. It's tough, but it's doable. Michelle, your journey so far, what would you share? What are the highlights? What are the challenges? What are the opportunities?
So for me, the Marini Naturals journey began, I'd say 4 years ago. Actually, the brand is 4 years old. It's just, in market, it's 1.5 years, but in terms of registration in the books, the brand itself is 4 years old. So the journey was very, in the beginning, it was almost a lot like what he's mentioned. I had told my family and friends that I actually want to go natural and start a hair care line. But everyone I spoke to told me, you must be crazy. The industry is dominated by the multinationals, Hako Industries, Miyadi, Tiger Industries, all these brands. And by the time I actually break through, I think, ladies, we all know the multinational hair care lines. And I was just thinking, how the hell am I going to do it? But I always say this, in the beginning, the only capital you need is the fire in your belly. Wow. That's the only thing you need to start. And you don't really need so many complicated things. I remember doing a very, very complicated business plan with my brother, who's a guru, financial analyst. And I did, I think, like a 10-page business plan, which I said I'm going to use to walk from bank to bank and finance institution to help me fund my venture. But all that meant nothing. Today, it's sitting there, and for me, it's like a comic book, because I look at it and laugh, yeah? So in the beginning, all you really need is that vision to begin. Believe in yourself, no matter what anyone tells you. If you feel, and there's always that instinct you have, there's always that sixth sense that whatever I want to do will actually succeed. If you want to do it so bad, actually nothing should stop you. And I went ahead, and 3 years on, actually I'd say 1.5 years on, we are not only in Kenya, we are in East Africa, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Zambia, Burundi, soon to be South Africa,
guys, that's
Nigeria.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it's not been easy, but it's worth it.
So it's the same thing. It's not easy. So don't cheat yourself. Guys, it's going to be hard, but it's worth it is what we're hearing. I also want to come back to the journey of, actually setting the stage. You said it was 4 years old, but 1.5 years on the market, which means it took you 2.5 years just to set up. Peter earlier was telling us it took 8 months to get the Kebs mark on his coffee. And so we want to talk a little bit about those struggles. We'll come back to that. Chris, your perspective on this area, and I'm particularly happy that you've joined us because Telkom has relaunched. Did all of you see that? How many of you have a Telkom line? Let me just get a sense. A few hands, not enough for sure. We need more. But cheaper data, and part of what the story is that will help grow business. Tell us your perspective on youth and entrepreneurship.
Okay, first of all, those of you without a telecom line, you need to hurry up because that's where the cheapest and most reliable data is. And as we know, especially in the entrepreneurial journey, one thing that is critical is having access to information. Because especially from the idea to execution, what you really need to know is who are the people I need to partner with? What are the access to markets that I have? What are the people who've already been in this business who've done well? And so having good, cheap, reliable data is critical. And we know that definitely from a youth perspective or a student perspective, it's a critical thing. You need it for your studies. You need it for your own mental growth. So our perspective from a telecom point of view is that we've said voice is important. We need to speak to each other. But these days, if you ask my kids, they don't understand what a telephone number is. They know WhatsApp. They know if they need to call their father or their auntie or their friends, they just look for the picture on WhatsApp and they press. And what they know that's critical is having Wi-Fi or having data. So we've decided that we're going to come into the market with very aggressive data packages because that's critical for entrepreneurs. We also realize that jobs are not going to be created by the so-called multinationals. They're going to be created by entrepreneurs who are building up their own companies and can give those jobs and can also help other people to get into entrepreneurship.
Thank you for that. It's fascinating that we're in Strathmore. And we'd love to know, what are you doing to build strong entrepreneurs? What are the challenges that you identify in the market? And what are the opportunities that you've also identified, please?
Academicians are normally accused of being purely theoretical. Do you empathize with that? Sounds familiar? So here at Strathmore University, especially under the BCom, the Bachelor of Commerce degree, we have introduced a practical entrepreneurship course. And this course is specifically for students who have businesses. Whatever the business is, no matter how large, no matter how small. And the idea is that they grow their business within the academic semester. And on top of that, they gain mentorship and they get grades for it. So it's a win-win for the entire community, both the academicians and the entrepreneurs. In fact, we can actually go a step ahead and say that it's a sort of incubation because within the following semester, they get the opportunity to go for attachment. Now, while other students are going for attachment in other companies, for other CEOs, they get to run their own businesses, and they get all the help from the university in order to move their businesses to the next level. Because SMEs have got an issue of growth. Mm-hmm. So that's one aspect, the practical entrepreneurship under the BCom program. Then we also have a university incubator called IBs. It's situated at the Student Center. And this is open to everybody, both our students and to the general public. And it's not only for IT students. And the philosophy is the same. We mentor, we coach, we give the skills that are relevant in order for one to run a successful business. One of the things I can probably sort of wrap up and say is that everyone has said it before, that it's not easy. And there's this idea with the millennials that you want to get rich today. I think that's one of the few issues we need to change.
There are so many bureaucratic processes we need to clear up. There are challenges of access to finance. There are challenges of capacity building and tools to run businesses. But I want each of you from your space to identify if you had key decision makers seated in this room and they will be watching, what would you tell them in terms of the challenges you've experienced and what they need to change? Chris, I'll start with you.
I think the key challenge for most entrepreneurs at the beginning of the journey, and even when scaling up, is finding great mentors. Most people have good ideas. Sometimes they're okay ideas. The challenge is not the idea. The challenge is having somebody who can hold your hand and help you cross from just an idea to execution and from execution to scaling up?
So I completely agree with Chris. From my experience, the two main challenges, it's really hard to decide which one is more of a challenge than the other, but the first one I'd say is the psychological challenge that entrepreneurs have or potential entrepreneurs have, that they have this fantastic idea, but they just don't believe they can do it. And they just don't believe they're good enough or old enough. I'll tell you something. One of the questions I always get asked after a panel discussion like this by you guys is, okay, Michelle, how old are you? And how did you do it? It's possible, my friends. It's possible to do it. You don't have to be a certain age. You don't have to be from a certain background. You just, as I said, have to have the fire in your belly, believe that you can. So I think mentorship then comes in, someone to guide you that it's possible to do it. Because every other time on my social media, I'll post something and I'll get, the response I'll get is, you inspire me so much.
The challenges in entrepreneurship are many, but I need to mention the key thing, the key ingredient for a good entrepreneur is passion. In my case, that is, when I founded the company together with my wife, Rock Band itself sounds very fancy and like a multinational, but I need to demystify that, by the way. Rock Band is a combination of my name and my wife. Peter. If you read your Bible, if you read your Bible, Rock is Peter, and my wife is called Banise, so it's a Rock and Banise Rock Band. And so one of the things that I've faced, every time I've gone maybe pitching and maybe looking for documentation from the government, we realize things like even KEBS certificate, like when you finished our coffee and everything, it has to sit on some government office takes for so long. Those are the kind of challenges I've been facing, not getting any support from the government. Particularly like in our case, we are boosting export.
I'm coming to the floor now for your questions and comments. So let's see the hands go right up. Introduce yourself. Tell us what you do.
My name is Mary Nkatha. I do tenders, public procurement, and my question is to Ms. Oreru. So yesterday I was actually researching about the youth fund, and when I researched, there was just Wikipedia. Anyone would have written that. But they were saying the way about LPO financing, you need security, and we also need someone to maybe put in a good word for you. And I was wondering then why is the youth fund existing and not us going to the bank? So I'd like clarification on that.
Okay, so you'd like clarification on needing a guarantor? And the question, yes.
Not really. I want, she takes us through how to be financed when you get an LPO.
Yes, okay, so if you have an LPO, you should be able to access funding.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Nkatha, for raising the issue about LPO financing. Yes, Youth Fund does offer LPO financing, but specifically to people whose LPOs are from government institutions. Any amount below 500,000, you do not need to have some sort of guarantor, or collateral on it. But anything above 500 to a tune of 10 million that we finance, then you need to have some collateral on it. Youth Fund finances your LPO to a tune of 70%. We do not charge interest fee, but we charge management fee of 6.5%, which is far much cheaper than what any other financial institution would be charging. Right. And then the other thing that you need to note is that from our last discussion that we had, is that the sort of collaterals that we've asked our management to do is that if you have that LPO from any government institution and they're able to put into writing that when they are paying your money, they will not pay to you directly, but they're going to pay to the Youth Fund account, then you get whatever belongs to you, then you do not need a collateral.
My name is Geoffrey Wakaba. into music entrepreneurship. I produce hip hop. And my question is to Peter. My question is not as technical. It appeals more to the human aspect. You guys are all successful people. And you've talked about challenges and how it was hard, it was tough. I might be wrong, but I'm sure there could have been days that you woke up and felt, I can't do this. I'm not capable of doing this. How did you deal with those moments?
It's a beautiful question. Thank you so much. I think I'll come back to the panel with that question, actually. And I think all of us might have a perspective on that. Peter, I'll start with you. On days where you just felt like it's too much and I want to throw in the towel. What did you do?
Thank you very much, Geoffrey, for your question. Actually, that's very true, and it is part of the process. I need to warn you. Because it comes to a time things are difficult, you have the sleepless night. For me, I normally proudly refer to them as the white beard moment. 4 years ago, actually, I didn't have any white beards. But when it came to the real time, I was really fundraising for this global brand. It's the time I realized how difficult it is. However, I've got a very easy way of managing it, or rather, one of them is, you don't have to take it, but maybe I can encourage you to take the same journey. One of them is you need to trust God a lot. You need to be very, very prayerful. Secondly, you need to hit the gym. You need to hit the gym. So do a lot of exercise. To me, gym worked out as also like a centering technique. Centering, to me, when you feel quite low, some moments you go to the gym, and surprisingly, there are so many things I tell my wife and my colleagues in the office. I call them the treadmill decision. When things are so difficult and something will spark when actually I'm on the run. So trusting in God, hitting the gym, and of course, there's something also I call the safeguarding your psychological environment. Ensure that the people who are surrounding you are people who are going to encourage you. When you're surrounded with people who are envious, they always throw bricks at you, tell you all the kind of negative things. So you need to safeguard your psychological environment. Ensure that you associate yourself with the right people, people who are going to encourage you. You are better off even having only 2 or 3 friends than be having a whole crowd of people who are just telling you negative things.
So my name is Cornell. I'm sure Julie, Peter, all of you have been tackling at least more than one or tackle more than one business or something. So how do you manage to juggle the balls? How do you manage to give attention more to item A and not B? For my instance, what comes out for my business A goes, I pump the funds into the business B. So I really have a hard time juggling things, so I'd like maybe clarification.
Thank you. We'll come
Thanks
to
so
that.
much.
Thank you so much. Where's Mike? The ladies now, please go ahead.
My name is Stephanie Nyoike, and I study international studies in here. My question is, we're having this conversation, but practically speaking, what are the key holders doing in education and in the government to ensure access to information that's necessary to give more practicality to entrepreneurship, even at the lowest level, for people who will not have the chance to view this African Leadership Dialogue, to anyone who might not have access to the BCom? What is education doing to ensure that from the lowest level we have access to all this? Because things like saving banks, we're encountering them all when you reach a certain point and you're getting information all of us. It's like everything is being bombarded on you. So what are we doing to ensure that this information is?
That's an excellent question.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, please.
My name is Charlene. I deal in digital marketing event management. My question goes out to the panelists. It's open to the panelists, but more so Marini and Rockburn. We're talking about being global and having a global mindset. At what point or rather, how do we break through to those global markets? And at what point did you realize that you're actually getting to a global market?
The question, how do we become global? How did you break through? And then support systems.
Thank you very much. I think I'll start with this gentleman here. Is mentioned about juggling different businesses. I think I've got a very short answer, so let me start with you. And the answer is that you need to be focused. Start one thing and focus on one other thing. Don't juggle balls. So juggling of balls should not be an option in your life. The other question, going to global, that begins from the starting point. You must think global. It's all about thinking big, okay? So when you're doing something from branding, do something like I mean, I don't know how many of you guys have encountered rock band packaging somewhere. For so long, until recently, I think 4 months ago, majority of people were coming out and saying they thought rock band is an imported brand. Someone even wrote some very malicious blog that it's been a franchise from the US. But for me, that was happiness, because I thought someone seated somewhere who is idle is thinking that my brand is American because of high standards. So the thing is, when you sit down, think big, think global. So the idea that you have, don't just concentrate it within the 45 million population in Kenya, but look at it, something that can you sell it in the US? Can you sell it in Australia? Can you sell it wherever you go?
So whatever you're doing, benchmark yourself against the best in the world.
Actually, I call it arrogant quest to do the best and compete with the best.
The question on going global, I always say this: it is better to have a small slice of a Black Forest cake than an entire queen cake to yourself. Okay? So the world is your market, basically. The entire universe is your market. Now, as entrepreneurs, sometimes we just think very small. You know, if you're selling shoes, you just want to sell shoes within Nairobi, Mombasa, if you're lucky. There's the entire world out there for you. And let me tell you, there's nothing stopping you. You need to blur the lines on the maps of Kenya and go Africa-wide. For example, for Marini, my vision is to build a Pan-African brand. And as Peter has said, I knew that from day one. So if you have a willing paying customer all the way in the Caribbean, there's no reason why you should not reach out to that customer through e-commerce.
On the juggling, it really depends. If one is feeding the other, remember, if the one feeding the other goes down, you have nothing. You lose both. So I think take his advice, and in the beginning, focus. Once it's there and it's actually growing, then you can look at other things. On the mentorship part, again, it's not necessarily somebody who might know strategy more than you, but sometimes a lot of entrepreneurs need is someone they can bounce ideas off or ask direct questions to. How do I do this practically? I need a loan of 2 million shillings. Do I go for a loan or an overdraft? Or do I go for a letter of credit?
I'll begin with the question on how to reach the real small entrepreneur, micro, small. And it's true, there has been a gap there. And I know various institutions are trying various issues and strategies to do so. So at Strathmore University, through the SEDEC program, it's the enterprise program, and through the Strathmore Institute, we are trying to target the Mama Mboga specifically. So we are trying to come up with geographic areas, because you can't be everywhere. And we're actually trying to get them together and impart these skills on them. So it's a work in progress. More will be unveiled as we go along.
I come to final words and parting shots from each of you. And deliver your final words on youth and entrepreneurship. What would you advise? What's the way forward? What's your inspirational message? And I'll start with you, Peter.
Purity of devotion brings forward the best of you. So if you have an idea, focus on it, think big, build it at a global level. Yes, I don't know, how many of you know the 5 key obstacles to a sale?
None of us.
5 key obstacles to a sale, because that's a starting point for any entrepreneur if you're doing a product. How many of you know that?
Nobody.
I can teach you very quickly. One of them is, I normally say, is that the reason why someone is not going to buy your product is because he does not need it. So if you're building a product, you need to look at, if someone doesn't need it, how can I take it to the people who need it? The second thing that someone is likely, the other second obstacle is that they have no money. So again, you need to look at a way, are you going to partner with maybe a certain partner to finance your venture, or to ensure that your product is accessed, all right? The other thing is no hurry. Someone will tell you, well, I like your product, but I'm in no hurry to buy it. So again, when you're strategizing, when you're launching a product, you must have come with a strategy. How are you going to deal with that kind of a situation when someone says, is no hurry? The fourth one is, I have no desire for your product. In other words, you're not inspiring me into your product or your service. So again, as an entrepreneur, as a startup, you need to come up with a strategy from day one. How are you going to do that kind of a person? And finally, and very important, is what we call, have no trust in your product. And that's where the question comes of social proof. You must work very hard, pray very passionately, at least to get the first person and a good person to buy your product that you can use it as a reference point.
The road less traveled often leads to the most beautiful destinations, okay? So don't be afraid to stand out. Don't flock with the crowd, okay? Take the road less traveled. It's not going to be easy, but it's definitely going to be worth it. Start today with what you have. Just do what you can. Just start. Even if it's thinking of a company name, start. Registering your company, coming up with a logo, talking to a friend about it, just begin.
It's critical to have a vision, and it's a global vision. You must be committed and execute. Execution, execution, execution. Having a good idea is one thing, but having great execution is what builds great businesses. And most importantly, think global in a way that you use the internet, or rather think e-commerce, think m-commerce. The opportunities exist. Let's not think on the scale of local Kenya. Let's think of a global scale.
Dare to dream. When we don't dream, we are practically dead. So dare to dream, dare to implement, execute, dare to hang on when it is very difficult. Because like in any relationship on this earth, there'll be the good times, there'll be the bad times. And the bad times have got the ability to make us think that things will never be better. Hang in there, because eventually the success will follow. Thank you.